They say motivation is something you want. Discipline is something you need. Obsession is something you have to have. I'm going to show you what I wanted, how I got it, and how I was obsessed to get there. All right, another episode of Forget the Noise podcast. We have Brad Poulos here today from chicken farms, working at a university, but there's no stone left unturned in between. I looked at his bio. I think I got everything. I apologize to him ahead of the episode. So we got Canada's first satellite internet company. We have a freelance jeweler, 0 to number 8 on the Profit 100 list, taking a company public, multi-title author, as you guys can see on the table, grandfather, he smashes keys in a band, sales as a hobby, practices Taekwondo, hates cucumbers, and keeps it all balanced with Zen Buddhism. So I don't know what we're going to touch on today. I prepped an episode. I feel like this is going to be one of those episodes where it's going to go in left field real quick. We align on a lot in life, business, where we're at. So I'm going to let Brad take the floor, give everyone a 5-minute intro, 2-minute intro, 30-second.
You just covered it all.
Talk about your favorite stuff.
That's the broadest intro that I've ever had. So that's pretty amazing. Well, why don't I start at the beginning?
Yeah.
With the chicken farm.
So
I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather came from Greece. He's Greek, so he had a restaurant. What else do you do, right? And my dad owned a motel in Niagara Falls, and it was out in the country, so kind of out on Lundy's Lane.
Oh, okay.
And we had 17 acres. So
wow.
At age 14, I got this great idea to start a chicken farm. So I built a chicken coop. My dad's very handy. He kind of taught me.
Yeah.
You know, probably not quite as handy as you, but so I built at 14. I built the chicken coop and went and got some hens and got one rooster. And for several months, I was selling eggs to the neighbors, basically.
Yeah.
And then in one afternoon, my German Shepherd put me out of business. So I decided to retire from farming.
Yeah.
And carried on with my studies. But I was lucky enough that in high school I was part of this organization called Junior Achievement. And it's kind of a shadow of its former self now, but at the time it was a great organization. And it taught young people about business. So we actually started a company in September and operated it, capitalized it. We had to sell shares for $1 a piece. Capitalized the company and you could only sell one share to any given person. So we had to go around and get the money to start the company, come up with a product, sell it, then liquidate the company, write an annual report, and give whatever you could give back to the shareholders. So in our case, it was in all 5 years that I was in high school, because I went to grade 13, we returned more than the dollar. So they got their entire investment back plus a dividend. So that really I was totally bitten by the business bug by then.
So you got a little preview before you went public with the company, which we're going to get into a little bit later, but
for sure,
you got a little foreplay in there, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So I was very entrepreneurial as a youngster, and then I did have a 15-year corporate career, but for almost the entire time I just couldn't wait to get out and do something on my own. So
that's cool. Yeah. No, I find a lot of people have that itch once they're in there. It's like, which we'll get into again later on. But they all have that itch where it's kind of like, once they have that itch, it doesn't go away. Even as an entrepreneur, I find myself, like, I'm always like, okay, but I could build something else. Like I was telling you with like my construction company, piggybacking into the business sushi company, I'm like, well, this is kind of linear. Like I've used experience in one to build out experience in another one, right? So it's kind of done with that.
I've also figured out that it took a long time to actually get to the root of it, but I figured out I don't really like having a boss. And so I think that was a big part of it. And, so how it really came home was when I was running the public company, I had 4,000 shareholders. And the previous CEO had kind of created a culture where not all of them, of course, but many of them thought that they could just call anytime and talk. Oh, wow. I realized I don't really want your input. And then when I looked back on prior to having the publicly traded company, we had sold our company into that company, and then I became the CEO of the company that bought us. And I had 2 partners, my brother and another individual. And for many years, I was the only one of the three of us that worked in the firm. They were on the board, they were my co-shareholders, but they didn't work in the company. And I realized looking back, I didn't even really like having their input. I'm very much of a lone wolf, and so being an entrepreneur, is kind of made for me. And also being a professor, because the dirty little secret of university, working as a university prof, is you don't really have a boss. Not in the conventional sense.
So we're going to get into that because I want to learn about that after. And that's surprising because now with my next ventures, I'm actually looking at partnerships. I'm actually looking like, how can we utilize our resources with other entrepreneurs to build something up? And you're giving me I didn't like having partners. And I'm like just experiencing the idea because I've never had a partner. I have my wife as a partner in the company, but that's like a paper thing, right?
It's actually not that. So I don't mind having partners. So when my brother, for example, later jumped into the company and we worked together for several years and grew it before we sold it.
Okay.
I liked that. I don't like having bosses.
Oh, the bosses aspect of it, yeah. Because like I'm actually thinking of a business venture with like T-Bone here because he has a media part of it, I'm doing the podcast and we find there's so many people that want a space for like branding or like photo shoots or, talking heads or even their own podcast. I'm like, why don't we get a little 1,000 square foot space and open a studio? You can do all the audio and video. I can build it out and then we'll just split on the revenue that way. Like, you know what I mean? So my next ventures, I'm actually looking for partnerships. Like
partnerships make perfect sense because they basically expand your capabilities.
Yeah.
You're not going to go and partner with somebody who has the exact same skill set that you do.
Exactly.
But you're going to find somebody with complementary skills, and together, hopefully the whole is greater than the sum of the two parts.
Exactly. I like that. The whole is greater than the sum of the two parts. Yeah. I'm trying to find a lot of like co-hosts. I'm like getting people just completely outsmarting me on the podcast. To leave the world better than I found it. What's better to you? Because that was one of your goals.
There's a lot of ways that you can slice that.
I know,
for sure. Right? So one is to try to be helpful whenever you can.
Yeah.
So, and that permeates through my entire life. So I get a lot of opportunity to do that because I teach at the university and I also mentor in a couple of the incubators there.
Oh, that's cool.
So at TMU, we actually have 10 incubators. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, we have the world famous DMZ, which last year or the year before was literally got the award for the top university-based incubator on the planet. And then it was the genesis of 9 others that are more sector specific, sector or capability. So let's
dive into what an incubator is for everyone listening.
Sure. Yeah. So an incubator is just it's a space, but it's also a program where young companies go for mentorship, for support, that sort of thing, and they may be really right, just having just been created, depending on the incubator, or they might be a little further along. In the case of the DMZ, you sort of have to have some traction before you get in there.
Yeah.
But the idea is to sort of accelerate your progress by providing mentors in various different areas and support in lots of different ways, sometimes even money. A lot of accelerators, we call ours incubators. We don't take a piece, but a lot of accelerators actually give you some money and then take a portion of your company as a result, right? So we have the Science Discovery Zone where I've mentored several companies, the Design Fabrication Zone, and then we have sector-specific stuff like the Biomedical Zone. There's a legal one, fashion, that sort of thing. So I've mentored in several of those, and that's all work that you do for free. So that's one of the ways that I like to, make the world better. And then volunteering as well. I think it's important that for everybody to, at least when you get to a certain point in your life, to give back.
And that's one of those things where I find people don't realize you just feel like you have to do. I'm at that point where it's like, I was telling you, I'm beyond the compete, I'm in the collaborate. I want to give back. I'm part of I'm trying to help out with the small business enterprise here in town.
Nice. I'm
part of DBOT, Dufferin Board of Trade. I just got on the board of directors there. I'm in multiple mastermind groups where I try to some of them I even pay to be in, and I mentor people in there. I'm paying to mentor someone. You know what I mean? Right. I also pay for friends. I know it sounds horrible, but in a mastermind group when you're paying to play, the connections are just different. People there are serious, right?
Yeah.
But there is, just like the entrepreneurship, itch, there is a give back itch with
no
a certain level in life. And I'm fortunate enough that I have that. And there's no like direct ROI, but like you can't explain the ROI on that. Like I don't know how to explain it. It just feels good. I'm actually just had one of the small business enterprise kids in my office yesterday, and he's like, I just don't know how to do this. I'm like, okay, let's get on the phone and just cold call now. Like if that's your next step, let's just do it. Like it's gonna suck. You're gonna get a bunch of no's, but like let's just do it. And I think he felt more confident with me beside him doing it. But like then he landed like 2 clients out of it. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, you know what I mean? This is great kind of thing. And you do get that itch.
I think the ROI is internal.
It is, yeah, but you can't explain it. Like, I don't know how to explain what it is. People are like, you know, you volunteer, what do you get out of it? I'm like, you feel good? Like, I don't know how to put it in words. It feels like something you have to do. Like,
I think it's the natural order of things. If the world has been good to you,
exactly,
you owe it to the world to be good back.
Your cup can only be so full until it overflows. So let it overflow.
Right.
Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Out of your resume, though, what do you think has resonated the closest with the leave the world a better place? Like, is there something
out of my resume?
Take away the like volunteer, just like work-wise, like running a company, making a paycheck for other people, like creating a lifestyle for people, or
no,
you know what I mean?
Like, it has to be teaching.
Teaching, yeah.
Yeah, so I keep track. A couple of years ago, I went back and I dug out all the records because I've been teaching since 2009.
And
I
it's
dug
been
out,
a while, yeah.
Yeah, I dug out all the records to figure out how many sections, which is essentially a class, have I taught, but more importantly, how many students have I touched? And the number is over 7,500 now. So when it comes to giving back to the world, although I get paid, and I'm paid decently to do that work, no question that in terms of leaving a dent in the world, that's probably much bigger than any of the other jobs that I've had.
That's cool.
No question about it.
And I actually haven't had anyone move into the teaching sector that I know directly from entrepreneurship. I've had people move into the mentorship, but actually like teaching students, I feel like mentorship, the foot's already in the door. A student, they're so young and moldable. Like it's got to be a cool mindset to kind of work with and see where they're at, what what they're gonna, entail or face as they like move into those different stages of life. But it's like an entrepreneur that walks in the door, like that kid there, he's like, I already had someone not pay me. I'm like, well, that's a lesson you're gonna learn. But these kids that you're teaching, being a professor for, they don't know that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really satisfying too, seeing some of them go out and just kill it in the world.
I know, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about them. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
You talked a lot about luck. So wild success can be explainable by skills and labor. Wild success is attributable to variance. And you said hard work helps too, but most importantly, you can't underestimate the importance of luck.
Yeah.
My question is, since you consult and teach at the university, you have a 25-year-old. They're grinding, they eat shit over and over, day in, day out. Like, at what point, if they're not progressing and they're not getting the luck, like what point did they give up?
Well, it depends on the individual. One of my philosophies around failure is you can really only be a failure if you stop. You got to keep going, right? Now, it doesn't mean you keep going with what you're doing.
Okay, so that's a better way to put it. So, like, say they're just not moving forward, and you said luck has something to do with it. At what point should they turn around and just say, I've done the work, I've put in the effort, done everything I can do, the luck's just working against me, when do I pivot?
And it may not be luck. It might be that you've just chosen a bad idea, right? And it's really important. It's really important to listen to that evidence and to then pivot. Like you took a term right out of the lean startup nomenclature, right? So you got to know when to pivot. In fact, so I have like a kind of a complicated view around failure. So first of all, that notion that you can only really be a failure if you stop, because failure is a post facto term, right? It's looking backwards. So if you're still moving forward, how in the heck could you possibly be a failure? It's only when you stop.
Yeah.
But there's I think there's a nuance to that that's really important, which is that you got to listen to the evidence. And so my new definition of failure, it's not really a definition, but when I'm talking to my students, I call it my definition of failure.
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, you finally figure out that you've been doing the wrong stuff meaning you're working on the wrong idea, or your idea is just not good, or it's not gaining traction in the marketplace or whatever, and you just keep going. That's failure to me, right?
Yeah.
You gotta know when to fold them, move on to something else, try another idea, that sort of thing. I'm a firm believer in evidence, and there's a great book called have you read the book Good to Great?
Yes.
So you might remember from there the Stockdale paradox, which is the idea that you have to accept the bitter reality of where you are,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it's only a fool that doesn't do that. So you accept the bitter reality of where you are and you figure out something else to do. But if you
pivot.
keep moving forward, you're not a failure. You're just in the process of succeeding.
See, and when I read that, I kind of took it the wrong way because like my brand is whole like belief over everything. Like we were just talking, you're like, someone told you no, and I'm like, yeah, someone told me no. Like that was it, kind of.
Right.
So like, I'm very like, shut up and work harder. I know it's not the best mentality, it's not the best motto. I've talked about extensively about how it's probably not the best thing for anyone, right? But that's the way I'm wired. I know I've learned myself, like you were saying, like you just can realize like a bad situation. I know I'm a bad situation. I'm just a horrible like pot of like bad ingredients. It's like, shut up and work harder. If I believe it, I'm going to do it. It's tell me no and I'm going to prove you wrong. It's like,
but
my back has to be against the wall. My back has to be against the wall for pressure. Like, if my company's doing well, I'm like, I'm going to put us in a bad position because I know I'm going to excel out of it. Because if I'm just coasting, nothing gets done. Like, I'm just that person. So that's my belief. And then I heard you on your onboarding form say luck, and I was like, well, I've never had luck. I do everything the hard way.
Well,
like
to a degree, you make your luck.
Yeah.
So again, I've got lots of stock sayings that I've honed over my 17 years of teaching entrepreneurship, right? And one of them is, there's no luck on your parents' basement couch. Get off your ass and do something. If you're not sure what to do anything, because anything is better than nothing, right? So you make your luck. But what my point when I filled out your onboarding form and when I said that to you, what I really was driving at is that. So let's take millionaires, okay?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stupid millionaires, but being smart can get you to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But to get to be a billionaire, being smart's not enough. You got to have some luck too. And I think the best ones, they acknowledge that. They acknowledge the part that luck has played in their life. And yes, they worked hard. And yes, they were smart. And yes, they were cunning and all of those things. But they also had a little bit of luck along the way. And I had a boss back in my corporate days. And he had a saying, and I didn't really understand it back then when he used it. I had to get older before I really got it, but you're probably wiser than me, so you'll get it right away. Okay. And the saying was, Brad, I'd rather be lucky than good.
I get that. I completely get that. Like, because I find like if you're lucky, you have a stepping stone.
Right.
If you're good, you got to work hard for it. You got to create that luck. See, I find like with me.
Well, imagine you only get to have one. You can either be lucky or good. But if you're good with no luck, that can be an awfully lonely place.
It is, and like that's what resonated with me when I heard the luck thing, where I was like, I haven't had luck, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, I did a lot of stuff in my business, not like for my business, rather than during business. I don't know how to explain that. Like, I made opportunities of like not working on the tools to go to networking events, which ended up landing me like a flagship project. But the choice I made by working harder and saying, I'm going to go do this at 6 p.m. Because no one else is going out at 6 p.m. I'm going to go at 6 p.m. My hard-headed mentality where it's like, I'm just going to work an extra hour longer than everyone else.
Right.
It created luck to be at that event, to land that flagship project. So it's like, you almost create luck by pushing forward. Like, you don't have to have just
your luck.
And I think with luck, people have this like, well, it's just good luck. Mommy and daddy had money, or they won the lottery. I'm like, no, you can create luck. You can create your environment and create circumstances based on your efforts every single day.
I'd consider the being born with a silver spoon in your mouth more good fortune. Luck. Have you
That's
heard
perfect dialect there.
I'm not sure which culture it comes from, but You know, there's an adage that luck is where opportunity and preparation meet. So you created the opportunity by going to the networking event and whatever, but you've also spent your entire, at least working life or your whole life getting prepared.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the two things together. That's what creates luck. Yeah. Having a millionaire daddy, that's just good fortune.
Yeah. And like, even when I started my company in 2019, like COVID hit right after that, and like renovations went crazy. So I got lucky in the timeline, but I know a lot of guys struggling right now out of COVID where they're like, I just don't have the work. And I'm like, we're good. And we have employees, and we open an office, and we have staff. And I'm sitting here on, I said the wrong day last time, Tuesday afternoon, like shooting a podcast for a hobby, like that I'm paying for. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those like, so I'm like, well, it's the work I did during COVID that's now paying off now. So sure, I was lucky COVID hit, but I played my cards right during that time to set myself up for 5 years down the road, right?
Yeah, I would have to wonder, what did those competitors do during COVID?
Buy boats and $200,000 trucks and, you know, all that stuff.
And enjoy their time off.
Yeah, and like
Whereas you were setting the stage for when things opened back up and were ready to fly when that happened.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I was stupid some days too, where I'd be like in the home office, and my mother's like, "What are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "I'm pulling all nighter." She's like, "Doing what?" And I'm like, "I'll find something to do for the business." And she's like, "Just to say you pulled an all nighter?" I'm like, "Pretty much." But like, it built that resilience, and actually, I did something that night, right, kind of thing. This one I want you to explain. Don't believe your own headline.
So, I'm not sure where that came from.
I read it somewhere on the onboarding form.
I don't remember writing that. So, don't believe your own headline. To me, what that means is, you know, basically keep your head out of the clouds, right? So, don't. I'm a firm believer in humility in business. I think it goes a long way.
That's where I read it, yeah. So, and I was going through it, and I have like a section of humility, and that was a quote I saw in the humility section in my little notebook there. Yeah, because I have that, and I have the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. So that's kind of, that falls into the humility thing, yeah. So like, where do you stand with the whole humility thing? Like, because business is hard. Business is cutthroat some days. Where do you draw the line, and what have you learned over the years?
It's like everything else, I think, in business. It's a balancing act. So it's pretty hard to do really, really well in business if you don't have a fair bit of confidence. So you've got this underlying confidence. But humility is more about a way to act. I mean, yes, you know that you're good at some point, but you don't have to act like Donald Trump to be a success in business, right? And I think people are more, they gravitate more to people that are a little bit more humble. And in fact, going back to that book we were just talking about a minute ago, the Level 5 Leader that they talk about in Good to Great is a combination of an intense amount of personal will, which you have. Yeah. You've demonstrated that, I think, combined with humility. Yeah. So letting the team take the accolades. It's not really all about me. Now, underlying that, of course, is usually a fair bit of confidence because it's backed up with a fair bit of competence. So, but humility, I think, is more about how you present yourself to the world than really what you feel inside. Of course, inside, you know you're pretty good. Yeah. It's obvious because of where you've gotten to in life. But you don't have to be showing that off all the time.
I find a higher percentage of people I meet personally have more humility with the more seasoned they are. I think that comes with a sense of maturity, age, experience. Very few young, it doesn't matter if it's a student, doesn't matter if it's an employee, doesn't matter if it's a business owner. I find as people get older, I see more humility in them rather than a younger generation. I hate to say full of piss and vinegar, but I find the younger generation does have a little bit of this competitive, full of piss and vinegar, but I also step back and say, is this, the youngest child syndrome or the middle child syndrome, where it's kind of like they feel like they have to kick and scream because they're just getting their foot in the door?
I think it's partly that. It also might be the fact that today the heroes that people see on social media, it's primarily social media nowadays, like who actually watches TV,
No one,
right? They're not great role models.
This whole manosphere thing, like, it bugs me. Like, this, like, ego
That's exactly what I was going at.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Like, I'm so over it. It's like, I get it.
And tell me how, like, let's pick the classic example, okay, Andrew Tate.
Oh,
how has he been successful other than as a moderate success as a mixed martial artist?
Yeah.
What other successes he got to point to?
He resonates with someone on a bad day and it goes viral. That's honestly, that's what I feel like it is.
Absolutely not a role model.
No. Or someone just down on confidence that needs, just something to push them to make them feel like they're bigger than someone. It's like a school bully. That's ultimately what it is. They pick on someone that they know they can bully. It's like that same kind of mentality brought into there, right? And like that manosphere kind of whole culture, I'm like, I don't have the time for it. I don't have the effort for it. I think it's horrible on like.
I'm hopeful that it'll be a blip on a timeline.
I think it's starting to phase itself out. Like, you know what I mean? But I was actually just listening to a bunch of videos. I got into a wormhole there about this, like, I guess, negativity around like self-improvement now. And I'm like, it's an actual thing. And there's so many articles on it saying like morning routines and, like cold plunges or like personal health and like spending time at the gym rather than spending time with your friends is wrong. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, why are we going this way now? Like, I don't know if it's because it's gone so extreme in the personal development phase, like, I guess
perhaps
sector and category has been so big, everyone's starting to like shit on it. I hate to say that, right? But I feel like the manosphere thing is the same way. Like, so many people jumped on the bandwagon. Now it's kind of hoping it's starting to phase out. Or maybe I just don't give it the time of day, so it's not as big to me, but maybe it is still a big thing. I'm not sure, but like I completely agree with you on that, the Andrew Tate thing or humility, where you don't have to act like Donald Trump to be successful. Because like, I have torn opinions on Donald Trump. Like, you put him like as a president, like you look at the numbers and everything, I'm like, he's not a bad president. Is he a douche? Yeah, 100%. Like, do I like the guy personally? Would I have dinner with him? No, but like, remember the whole like, what was it, the Mexican wall? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to build a wall. And then he got voted in as president, starts building a wall. Everyone's like, he's building a wall? And I'm like, well, we always complain politicians don't do what they say, and now he's doing what he says. I'm like, you guys got to pick your battles here, right? So, I don't know. Like,
I try to stay away from the whole left-right thing, right? And I just simply look at every single issue on its own merits.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I fundamentally believe that if you're going to have a country, by definition, it must have a border. Yeah. And the border must function. Yeah. It's very important for that border to function. So, I think that stuff gets blown out of the water. Now, the other thing is, and I'm sure we don't want to get too far into politics, but the way that they choose to go and round up illegal immigrants is not really the way I would go about that, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it hits more news, and it's actual stat. I think I read it. It was like 294,000 under the Barack administration, and Donald Trump was only like 196,000 or something like that. Right. But he's actually rounded up less illegal immigrants, but he's done it in a more dramatic way. You know what I mean? Where it's like at the border, it's like, I'll separate parents and kids. Mm-hmm. If you're coming across the border, like, both of you guys are gone. Like, kind of thing. Like, so it's a little more harsh way to do it and less humility.
I think one of the reasons for that is that because Donald Trump signaled so much that he was going to have strong borders, there are fewer illegal immigrants coming in. Yeah. So therefore, Barack Obama had a better opportunity to deport them because there were simply more of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I agree with your thing on the politics. I find I can't talk to many people about politics because, like, I look at it as two different perspectives. Like, if I talk to someone that works like a 9 to 5, my political, I guess, benefit of who I vote in is going to be different because I'm a business owner versus someone who works a 9 to 5 or in, the private or public sector or something like that. Their vote is going to lean towards what's best for them. And my vote's going to, but I find I just can't, if mine is differ, it doesn't matter which way. If I'm left and they're right or I'm right, they're left, we have this like divide where it's like, it's wrong to be on the other side. I'm like, why? Like, vote your way. I don't care. Like, whatever works out best for you. When I go to the grocery store, I don't tell you what name brand to pick of cookies. Pick your Chips Ahoy and I'll get my Oreos. Like, who cares? Like, that's what works best for you. Like Chips Ahoy. Like, pick them, right? So,
yeah, there's also a reason why they often say that, you shouldn't really spend too much time discussing politics or religion, and it's because you're probably not going to change the other person's mind. So
See, I would love for someone to change my mind, and that's part of this podcast. Is like I want someone to give me their opinion, where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I can get behind that, like, because that's part of the reason I have the podcast is to learn stuff, change my mind. Like I want to be open minded. I think there's too much in the world where people are closed minded, where like I want to be that change, where like if you can change my mind, change it. But like there's got to be some grounds on it, not just hey, this you're thinking wrong, and I'm like, well, why am I thinking wrong, and why is it better for me to think a different way, kind of thing, right?
I also think it's good to have a willingness to hear the other side, to listen to it, even if you're not going to change your mind, to really understand what the other person's perspective is. Yeah. I think it just, like I have one friend who we're very, very different politically. Yeah. But we get into these deep political discussions and they never get personal. Yeah. Because we both really just seek to understand why does the other person believe what they do. And probably we both have pulled the other one, in our direction a little bit on one issue or another.
And that's the thing. People look at it as a whole, like, let's use red and blue, right? People look at it as very red and blue. And I'm like, well, no, let's talk about the topic. I really, when I talk politics, we can't talk about the topic. We have to say, well, it's party A, party B. And I'm like,
I don't care about parties.
No, I just, do you notice there's no center left or center right anymore? There's either right or left. Do you remember when there used to be a center right and left? Yeah. That was a thing back then. Right. So all the kids listening, you didn't have to go left or right. You can go in the middle. That was like a huge thing before. A lot of people sat there, but
in fact, for most of my adult lifetime, we had center left liberals, center right, the progressive conservatives, and they were called progressive conservatives at the time. And then when they got in, they would govern it from the middle. Right? And they really, like, probably very few young people watching this podcast would know this, that we ran up massive deficits in the 80s under the conservatives. Yeah. We voted in the liberals, and they got rid of the deficits. Yeah. Now that's not what you would think, right? You would think that would be the other way around. Yeah. But because they all kind of governed from the middle back then, and there's a global situation as well. Like part of the reason we had deficits was because of interest rates and the situation we found ourselves in. So it's not all the conservatives' fault that we had these deficits.
It was conservatives,
but it happened under them. Yeah. And then the situation changed, and it was Paul Martin and Jean Chrétien who got rid of our deficits, and they're liberals. So it's just proof that they used to govern from the middle, and it's become much more polarized now. Unfortunately, I think it's to our detriment.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's just a spiraling factor where I believe the pendulum goes either way. So I think it's going to go way the other way eventually. I don't know if it's going to be the next generation or two generation, but I think it will go that way. So,
are you familiar with the concept of entropy?
No.
So it's a concept in physics, but I think it applies to society. So in physics, things naturally move to disorder. They naturally become more chaotic, not the other way around. And I think society is the same way. Yeah. So I think we're headed for more chaos before less, unfortunately.
So you don't think we're at the top end yet?
No, I really don't, unfortunately.
That's a cool concept. Yeah. What was it called?
Entropy.
Entropy. I gotta write that down. Actually, I have video footage of it. I can go back to it. So your newsletter, everyone subscribed to it. It was actually really good. You can be flawlessly efficient at the wrong things and call it a good week.
Right, yeah.
I love that. Because I see so many people like that, because we were just talking about the last 3 podcasts ago, busy is a badge of honor. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. When I read that, I'm like, I don't know, because I'm in that season, I'm around so many people where they're resonating with that, where they're like, oh, so busy today. I'm like, what'd you do? Well, and I'm like, why are you pausing? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're busy, but you didn't do anything. Like, right. I feel like I have so many people in my life at that point where I'm like...
I think the killer question there is, oh, really? What did you accomplish today?
Yeah.
Right? What did you check off the list?
Where did the needle move?
Right.
Like,
yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
So not everyone read your whole read your whole newsletter, but in a nutshell, like, explain your whole thought process on the
issue that came out today. So what you're talking about there. Yeah. So the there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness, right? So efficiency is doing something quickly with minimal resources, whatever. Effectiveness is doing the right stuff. And I think too many entrepreneurs, small business owners especially, they're running around trying to be as efficient as possible, but not necessarily effective, not necessarily working on the right things. And part of it is there's this cliche that comes from this book called The E-Myth, and I'm sure you've heard it. Working on the business, not in the business, right? Yeah. It's the owner's job to, as you did, you mentioned to me earlier how you got off tools fairly quickly after starting your company. That's so important, because if you're on tools, there's no way you can work on the business. Okay. You're too busy worrying about whether or not is this wall plumb, or how does the grout look on this tile job, right? So you can't be working on the business, which is developing, essentially finding new customers, figuring out new products and services to sell, opening new geographic or other forms of markets, all of those kind of things, right?
Yeah, and I find a big thing is cash. They have no problem going for lunch every day. They have no problem buying that fancy tool. But I'm like, sometimes if you spend money on the business, like hire an administrator. It's like, I know there's not an immediate return on your investment on that, but I'm like, you're buying back your time. Like, you're literally buying back your time.
Right.
And on top of that, like, my client experience is tenfold over everyone else, because I have someone that only does communication. I pay my wife to do all the design for white glove service. I have a project manager out there that's face fronting to the client day to day. I'm the salesman. I'm the big problem solver. If I walk on the job, something went down and I'm here to fix it, and you're going to get a good answer, because that's the only place my head is in, kind of thing. And I'm like, spending money on all those people is like, it's getting us more jobs because their experience is better. And like, people are like, I can't pay someone $25 an hour just to answer emails. I'm like, oh my God, they don't just answer emails. They don't.
Well, the other way to look at it is, okay, so wait a minute. You can get rid of the job of answering emails by paying someone $25 an hour. Is your time not worth a lot more than $25 an hour?
Yeah, I know.
So the people I think that are afraid of that are the ones that don't know what to do with the time that's been freed up. They don't know how to get to that next level. They're not sure what they should be doing. Where I think for you, it's a little more innate. I think it's a little more intuitive. You just get it.
Yeah, and I wanted my time back. That's why I started a business. That's why that was my goal, right? And now I'm at the phase where it's like, I want to be that person that pulls out the best in people. Like when I'm working with a client with consulting, coaching stuff, I'm finding, and I'm sure you can see it in your students, right? Where you're like, I see your good trait. What's it called? I think it's called the Michelangelo Effect. And it might be Michelangelo Effect for like spouses and loved ones, but it's like same concept where someone sees the best traits in you and they work to pull them out. It doesn't matter if it brings them downfall or heartache.
Oh,
whatever it is.
The way Michelangelo saw the sculpture inside the rock,
stone, yeah.
Before it was.
So it's like they see the best in it and they want to pull it out of you,
right?
Even if it takes them like pain and hardship and hours and chipping away granite and stuff like that. It's like I see that in people. I'm like, just please let me work with you. Like let me help you. Like I'm like screaming at the mountaintop. I'm like it's so easy, and a lot of it's just the obvious. It's just people are scared to do that.
You just hit it. It's fear.
I know, and like
fear is one of the greatest motivators, but it's also one of the greatest. It's demotivation isn't really the right word. Obstacles.
Yeah,
it's one of the things that gets in the way.
Creates setbacks. So many.
Yeah.
On people. The hardest lesson to teach an ambitious person is that teaching the summit doesn't automatically mean you'll like the view. So we're gonna jump into, I guess.
I can.
You walking away from the company. I am in a season of unteachable lessons. I don't know if because I've gone through so many headaches and problems and stuff, but I'm finding no one wants to listen. And I'm starting to really research this, and I'm like, people need to just go through stuff before they understand it. And I find it's with hardship, but I'm finding so much more now it's with success. Like,
the term,
I want to get to this point, and when they get to that point, it's like you're not going to be happy there. And it's like, absolutely. Well, no, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want to have a publicly traded company. I want to sell my company, make millions of dollars. I'm like, but is that going to make you happy? They're like, well, it must. And I'm like, it won't though. Like, that, but I can't teach someone that without them going through it. And I'm realizing there's so much in life people actually need to go through before they actually understand it. And I'm like,
Well, there's a reason why
crazy.
older people are wise.
I know, but why don't we listen?
So,
Like, why don't we listen
None
to
of
the
us
person
do.
that's 10 years ahead of us? Like, why don't we?
maybe
Like,
the smart ones do, but I sure didn't. So
yeah, so your experience on that, like you got to the top of the summit. You literally accomplished what 90% of people I know are trying to accomplish. And you're like,
right.
I wasn't happy.
Yeah, so first of all, happiness has to come from the journey. You cannot, you've got to find a way to be happy in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So, and happiness is a choice too. Now, look, if your grandmother died this morning, you're not happy today. I get it. But,
Yeah.
but those things aside, in general, happiness is just a decision that you make about your life. So that. But I want to the whole careful what you wish for because you might get it thing, right?
Yeah.
So when I was
So that's kind of aligns with that. Yeah.
yeah, so when I was 35 years old, I was doing my MBA, and I took a course in organizational behavior, and as a part of that, the prof gave us these very detailed personality studies, and so I learned a few things about myself. And he to his great credit, he sat down with every one of the 50 students in his class, and he gave us about 20 minutes or so, and we went through the results, and he helped us to interpret them. And as part of that process, he asked me, like, what's your overarching goal for, like, business-wise, right? And I said, so I was 35. And I said, well, by the time I'm 45, I would like to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And he literally said to me, Brad, do you not think you should set a more realistic goal? I'm like, wow, you just lit a fire under my ass.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Tell me I can't. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, right? So, fast forward 10 years. 5 days before my 45th birthday, I sold my company to a publicly traded company. I became president and CEO of that company.
5 days before?
5 days before.
I would have called him.
It
I
was
would've-
not,
Hey.
but it was not on the Fortune 500. However, I went like, check. And so there's a lesson there, which is good enough is often good enough.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't the Fortune 500. Look how far I moved the yardsticks between that conversation and that day, 5 days before my 45th birthday, right? So there's one lesson. But the other thing is, I hated it. Once I got there, I didn't like it. Like I said earlier, I don't like having bosses. And I didn't realize that about myself. So I had this very lofty goal, probably primarily driven by ego, by, to be the big honcho and have the office and have the nice car and have the card that says CEO on it.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I realized I don't really like this because a CEO's job primarily is to deal with the street, right? Wall Street. That's your job. And I realized I hate investors. I don't like dealing with investors at all. I love dealing with customers, employees, suppliers, even the local government. I loved all that. But I did not like dealing with the investment community, and that was my number one job. And so, like I say, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it.
So going through that experience, because you had life experience, right? Do you think there's a way to teach an unteachable lesson? Like, is there a way? Because I'm actually, in my personal life, I'm trying to crack this code. I'm actually trying to talk to people and say I have a handful of people in my network that have gone through this. Don't waste your time. I've learned what I've learned, and now I'm at the point. I went through the shiny object syndrome. I went and bought the nice watch. I went and spent money on stupid shit. I've done that, and now I'm at the point where it's me and my wife were talking. I'm like, as we scale up and grow, we're gonna do stuff I was actually talking to one podcast guest, and they have a house manager. Shows up 3 times a week. House is clean, organized, appointments made, schedules made, grocery shopping's done, stuff. I'm like, we're gonna invest in a house manager. We're gonna get a meal service so we don't have to spend our time cooking and we can spend our time together doing other stuff. I'm looking at things that are gonna buy back my time, right? People are like, well, and I'm just was talking to this kid and he's like, I can't wait. I was just talking to someone else about I want to buy my dream car after a year in business. And I'm like, shiny object syndrome. I'm like, do not do that. That's stupid. And it's I'm like, I almost have to let him buy the stupid car to learn you don't want the stupid car. And I'm like, everyone at a higher level that's past where I'm at, I'm like, is there a way we can teach people the unteachable lesson? I can't crack it. I don't know how to do it.
I think the only way is through stories, but it doesn't mean it's going to work. Some people will listen. And stories are by far and away the best way to convey those kind of ideas. But it doesn't mean that 100% of the people that hear the story are going to internalize it, are going to learn from it. And, you could try to teach, but that doesn't mean anybody's going to learn. But some will.
Yeah.
And so you'll make a positive impact on the world by doing that. But I really think stories is the way. And you have to accept that your hit rate is going to be less than 1%. The about us as humans, and it's probably a sign, having, like I said earlier, it's a combination of confidence and humility, but that confidence that we have will probably push us toward thinking, yeah, I know that happened to AJ, but that's not going to happen to me, all right? I'll be smarter, I'll be better, I'll be faster, I'll be whatever, so that's not going to, that one won't hinder me.
I don't know why it's bugging me lately. The past few months, I'm like, why? I don't know, because I'm getting deeper into like mentoring and deeper into like working with clients as like coaching, consulting and stuff, but I'm like, I got to be able to learn how to teach this. Like, maybe it's just something because everyone says the same thing. They're like, they just got to.
I think to some degree you have to let that go.
I'm trying to learn the unteachable lesson. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's telling me you just can't teach it. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to teach it. That's the definition.
It doesn't mean don't try.
Yeah, I know, but.
Right? So, but there's a few things I can say to that. So one is we have a saying in the entrepreneurship department, and it kind of applies here. It's a little bit different, but you can't care more about their education than they do. So you can't care more about the other person's life than they do. Right? You've got to let them be the driver of all of that, and all you can do is like try to make the best, to try to do your best to get the lessons across. But the
bring the horse to water, but that's it.
Yeah, but the other thing, and like you mentioned earlier, I practice Zen, right, which is mostly about meditation for me. But there are a handful of principles as well that permeate through all forms of Buddhism and Zen. I think particularly for this one, and it's the notion of equanimity. It's this idea of it's kind of like the serenity prayer, the courage. How does the serenity prayer go? The oh my gosh, I can't even remember how it goes, but it's about the wisdom to accept the things that I cannot change.
Look up the serenity prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna start utilizing this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna start doing.
Right, just like Joe Rogan does. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Right. Yeah.
When I stepped back and looked at like everything you've done, again, I found a quote, and it says, "He who can does; he who cannot teaches." We've done both. So you just kind of scrapped the whole quote.
Like, I don't believe in that quote.
So you burnt it. Yeah, that's it.
Right, exactly. We had a funny take on that when I was in tech school, and that was he who can does, he who can't teach, and he who can't teach becomes the dean.
Okay, I like that one.
But you've got the serenity prayer?
Yep. So it says, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
There we go.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bang on.
So
you have a new responsibility during podcast now. We're gonna start utilizing you, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that adage. It's cute.
Yeah.
Right? Those who can do, those who can't teach. But I think, I bet the colleges especially, but even to some degree the universities, are kind of full of people who can't do. But the thing is, in our department especially, business generally, but our department especially, we're full of practitioners. I would say there's 6 or 7 of us that have been a CEO of a publicly
traded. Do you find
company.
it's starting to change now? Because I found when I was looking at universities and stuff, like even friends, but it's like hiring an overweight personal trainer, right? Or hiring a mechanic who, rides a bike. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, if someone's going to show me something, especially something so important like entrepreneurship, you had to go through it.
I totally agree.
I want those unteachable lessons. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, and I feel like there's more of that now. Like, even getting into like the consulting coaching space, like that's why I'm working so hard to build my resume. That's why I'm getting up at 4:15, because I took 10 coaches and, influencers and ideally my ultimate goal is to be a public speaker.
Okay.
Motivator, I guess, mentor, whatever it is. And I took like 10, 15 of them. I'm like, I researched them all and said, they all wake up at this time. The average time was like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, well, I'm behind them, so I got to get up 15 minutes earlier. I know it sounds like the weirdest like calculation, but I'm like, I'm not there yet. So I need that extra 15 minutes a day. And I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
And I started saying that standard with myself. And then, I'm like, they all wrote a book, so I'm going to write a book. And, they all have a podcast. I'm going to start a podcast. They all have multiple businesses. I'm going to have 2 businesses. Like, building that resume, so when I get to that point, I'm like, I have that credibility like you do with the entrepreneur space, teaching entrepreneurship. I'm like, I think that in itself, like, is so much value. Like, it's
Sure.
the ultimate golden basket of value and, like, knowledge. It's like, you can't.
And you're going to
replace that.
forge your own unique path.
Yeah.
You're not going to be exactly like any of those individuals, but for sure, copying the strategies that others have used in the past is a great, it's a great thing to do. And I would say also to the audience that, you don't have to get up at 4:15. I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
That's extremely early. But being a morning person absolutely pays off. So I've been the other way around.
Yeah.
And I switched 15 years ago, probably, maybe 20, from being a night owl to a morning person, right? I go to bed disgustingly early.
Yeah.
But I'm usually up around 5 or 5:30 with no alarm clock.
Yeah.
Right? But why? Because I went to bed early.
Yeah.
And, the time that I didn't spend watching TV or watching YouTubes or whatever in the evening is unimportant. And the time that I get back, I usually use it for either an important at the time that I have before work starts.
Yeah.
I use it either for reading or for working on a project of my own that that's really important to me.
Yeah.
That isn't either client work or doesn't have to do with teaching or that kind of thing. And I'm a firm believer in get up early and get stuff done before everybody else is even in the office. If you're if you're in that kind of a world.
And my 4:15 came from, I believe you do have to walk the path of others you want to be like. Now, maybe you won't step in every stone they stepped on, but you should walk the path. And I feel like, I don't know if it's a chip off my block, but like I have no spoon behind me. I have no like paper that gives me credibility. And I'm like, out of respect for the industry I want to get into, I just have to give a little more effort. I have to go through a little bit more pain just to get there, because I'm like, I don't have a doctorate, I don't have an MBA, barely even have a high school diploma. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I have to really build up these businesses. I really have to show up every single day at 4:15 and prove I can do it. Will I do it forever? Maybe not. But like, if I do it consistently for 1,000 days, like Andy Frisella says it, show me your last 1,000 days and I'll show you who you are, right?
Yeah.
If I do that for 1,000 days straight, it's like, okay, he's a real deal, because to do it for 1,000 days straight, it's like, it's not an easy feat. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those like, okay, if I can do that, at least I build some sort of recognition where it's like, okay, he walks the walk, he talks the talk kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I can drive that home too. My former business partner of like, we were together for like 20 years running a handful of businesses. He's Korean, and he told me about a Korean saying, and I'm gonna butcher it. I'm barely gonna be able to paraphrase it. I certainly won't be able to quote it, but it's something along the lines of, there is no poor man, no man who gets up at 5 a.m. will have a poor family. Something like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
It's true, but I think that just sets a standard, right? Like, I think it just sets me apart from people, because like when I walk in the door now, like even when I go into like a business meeting and have a networking event or something like that, like people are like, hey, how's it going? Like, how's it going? I'm waking up 4:15 every day. I'm like, good. And they're like, how do you do it? Like, I was just talking to T-Bone about it. He's like, how do you do it? I'm like, he's like, you're wired different. I'm like, don't take away from my work I'm putting in. Like, I'm not wired different. I just do what I say I'm gonna do. And then coming into like doing business now with someone, they're like, okay, if he does that and he says he's gonna do it, I know he's gonna do it.
Right.
It just, again, builds that resume.
That
And
discipline.
unfortunately, I need to do a little bit more, because I don't have that credibility of a doctorate or MBA or something, or like, some diploma behind me. It's part of the process. It's paying your
Sure.
dues.
But that discipline that you're building, because you are, you're it's a muscle, right? And
Yeah.
you're strengthening that every day. that's going to permeate your whole life.
Yeah.
That'll permeate your home life with your wife, right, and your kids if you have any, and your personal relationships, and your hobbies, and your business. And
It's funny you say that because I had my son on a few weeks ago to actually like talk about like what he's learned watching me, and the stuff I thought I was teaching him, he wasn't even learning. He was learning stuff I didn't even expect him to see. Like he's like throughout the summer, like I'll get up at like 9 and like you're off to work already, and you've already like I post a sauna talk every day on social media. So I'm in the sauna, and I'm like. And he's like, I already see your sauna talk, I already see you did your workout, I already see you did 10 things at the office, I already see you on field. And he goes, I'm just waking up, like I gotta get my ass in gear. And I'm like, that's what you're learning from me? Not like all the like knowledge I'm trying to give you about running a business and like making a career, like you're not picking up any of that.
It's the meta stuff. It's the stuff at 50,000 feet.
Exactly, like it's crazy to think that, so it's cool. Okay, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this one. Can we get into a dicey question?
There's no dicey questions.
Okay. So, like, I feel like there's more to entrepreneurship than book smart. I'm a strong believer that a lot of the stuff that you learn in school with entrepreneurship, like, there's a lot of shit, like we were talking about, you're gonna learn not, like, being in the field and actually doing it. Do you think entrepreneurship in school, I know you're a professor, do you think there's a waste of money there for certain people and certain students, and it's just an expensive permission slip to run a business? Because I feel like coming out of that, you're gonna get two people. Either people that are like, okay, I got the basics, I got the foundation, I know there's gonna be more to learn, I have an open like mind to it, and I'm willing to take in what I can learn with real life experiences. Then there's other people where it's like, well, I went to school for it, so I'm gonna start a business and it has to be successful. And there's that entitlement to it. Like people that come out of like school with like a literature art degree, and they're like, well, I don't have a $300,000 job. I'm like,
imagine that.
Literature arts, no one cares. Like, I'm not trying to downplay the degree, but you know what I mean, though. Like, there comes some sort of entitlement with it.
Oh, there's lots we can unpack there for sure. Okay, so first of all, although I teach university entrepreneurship, I do not consider myself to be an academic. Okay, I'm a practitioner. Right?
Okay, I like that.
I'm a practitioner who works in an academic environment. We're one of the less academic disciplines. We're much more applied and practical entrepreneurship than, say, philosophy.
I never thought about that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I consider half of all university degrees to be bloody useless, and I would not pay for my child to go get one of them. Out of respect to the people who have them, I won't name them. But you can email me if you want the list.
No, but you know what I mean though. There is stuff where like I'm now at that age where I have friends and their kids are
Caribbean studies.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
What are you going to do with that other than teach Caribbean studies? And that's a continuously downward spiral, right?
Yeah.
So because there's not going to be enough jobs. If we graduate 30 Caribbean studies grads, there's not going to be 30 jobs teaching that at the university level, right? So
we're on the same level there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now, but back to entrepreneurship specifically. So a bunch of things I want to say. First one are a couple of. I'm thinking back to. I stay in touch with probably maybe about 100 of the 7,500 students that I've touched over the years, and a couple of the more successful ones didn't finish the program. They were too busy being entrepreneurs to come back for the 4th year. Okay?
That's cool. Okay.
So there's that. I don't think for a second that you need an entrepreneurship degree to go out and be an entrepreneur. I think if you're bent that way and you've graduated from grade 12, I do suggest you get your grade 12. But get. Oh, I don't mean to make you feel bad.
I'm just joking.
So I suggest you get your grade 12 because it's just partly it's a symbol that you can finish something. Go be an entrepreneur, right? Don't spend $40,000 in 4 years of your life going to get a degree.
My kid's going to university soon.
It's about $10K a year, I think, roughly. I'm not even sure. That's not my.
Just cheesy.
I don't work in that part of the uni. So. So I think you should just go do it. If you're already wired that way and you're 19 years old, just go try it for sure. A lot of the students in our program actually are sent there by their, so about maybe around a quarter or a third of them have been sent there by their family, and they're going to go back into a family business. So what they're trying to do is
I never thought about that.
Yeah, so they're trying to kind of up their, the professionalism within their family biz. So I think that's a perfectly valid reason to take an entrepreneurship program. Some students are just not really sure what to do, and it sounds cool, and so they'll take that program, and a lot of them end up going and getting jobs before they ever start their own business. But in general, the concept of teaching entrepreneurship. So one is we don't teach about entrepreneurship. We make them do entrepreneurship. So we're the guide on the side. We're not the sage on the stage. We're not up there professing about entrepreneurship and telling them how things are and how they aren't.
So that's my
so much as coaching them. So in our capstone course, which I taught for the last 3 years, so capstone is a 4th year course. In our case, it's a year long, so it's 2 semesters. You go from September to April, and you're stuck with me, right? We make them do 2 big things. One, you have to start a business of your own. So by the time you graduate, you've started a business.
Yeah.
And the second thing that they have to do is in a group of 6 people, they have to go into an established business, not a startup, one that's been around for a while. They have to go and get it themselves. We don't provide them with the companies. They have to go sell themselves as 4th year students, and they go in and they do 2 things. So in the fall, they do a scan of the company. They do deep interviews and really try to understand the company, but then also the external environment, so the industry and other things about the economy and all that. And then around Christmas time, they make a bunch of recommendations for things that they can implement in the second half. So between January and April.
Yeah.
So by the time they've left, they've both done their own entrepreneurial project. Some of them are pretty modest, but some of them are not. So like they're big enough that the student
You're applying
quits,
for a job?
or want to be on their board.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And then they've done these things entrepreneurial things inside a larger company where they don't have to worry about the resources. The company has the money. They have,
that's all within the entrepreneurship program.
That's the capstone. That's the final entrepreneurship course in your 4th year in our program, and I think it sets us apart. I did some
100%.
research. I researched the top entrepreneurship schools, Babson, Kellogg, a couple of the Canadian ones as well. Nobody else does that.
That is, see again, that's my ignorance. That's part of the reason I'm having this podcast, because like, from an outsider, I see like university, it's like, entrepreneurship course, like, what can they teach them without actually doing it? But then I talk to you and I'm like,
we do it.
This is a thing. Like, this is actually kind of really cool what they're doing, because I think especially that, like, getting into an existing business and finding problems, like, even if you start your own business and you're an entrepreneur, like, you get to a certain point where like you can run a $0 to $500,000 business, and I think at that point you need to step back and say, okay, where are the problems to get us to $1 million? And unfortunately, there might be times where you're at a $3 million business, and you're like, I can't run a $5 million business, so I need to bring someone in, because the problems I see aren't problems I can fix. So having them inside an existing business and assessing an existing business gives them a whole different like world of like insight, which I think is like, that's a really cool program.
That wasn't dicey at all.
I know, but it's like,
there was no diciness to that.
I know, but
you thought I might be slightly insulted perhaps by the question, but absolutely, I think it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And I think parents should absolutely ask that question about whatever program that they're paying to send their kids away to.
Yeah, because I'm so ignorant to what entrepreneurship is, because I was like, live and learn. That's all it is. Like, maybe I bought, like a few entrepreneurship books, but it was like...
To me, entrepreneurship is a process.
Yeah.
So because it's a process, you can teach it.
But that's what I like about the program, is like, they're learning about not only starting a business, it's finding problems in the business. Now you're finding solutions to a problem. It's like, I think that's actually really cool. I really like that part of the thing. Now with the students in your program, I find there's 2 types of entrepreneurs. Ones that create a job for themselves and ones that build something. How good are you at just like walking into a room, is like, boom, A, B, A, B, A, B, like, because I find some of them don't realize, I have some friends that actually don't even want to build something. They're happy just creating a job for themselves.
Sure.
And that's where they're content, which is okay.
Right. I'm not that great at picking off the students, but I will tell you, so I spend my when I'm not teaching, I spend my time doing two things really. I'm building a digital business for small businesses that essentially a bunch of tools to help them reduce the chaos. But I also have clients as well.
Yeah.
And they fall into the A-B category.
Yeah.
So you've got the builders,
Yeah.
right? The ones that want to get off the tools, get out of the way, and are willing to let go because they're trying to build the company. And then the ones that I call it, you don't actually have a business, you just own your job. Now, so let's pretend you weren't the way you are, and that you're touching everything around here, and you know you're on every job site, and you're still carrying a tool belt and all that, right? I would say, you know, you don't really have a business because you can't really go to Barbados and sit on the beach and, you know, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah.
So you own your job. Now, but it's important to understand, owning your job is better than having a job.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely better, but you don't want to own your job. You want to own a business.
Yeah.
And that's the distinction, right? And
Yeah.
so I call it the $8 million problem. It's in the book.
And we're going to have links to all the books, everything.
So,
and I didn't even steal those 2 copies. I need a new book to read. So.
Those are yours. So the $8 million problem is something I observed back when I had a business where we basically sold a lot of products that were sourced from the United States in the telecom industry, and had a lot of small business suppliers. They're in the kind of, you know, $5 to $10 million range, and the owner still made every single decision. And so my brother and I coined that. It's the $8 million problem. If you're okay being at 8 million, you can still make every decision. But if you want to get above that, you've got to be able to let go. And there's a bunch of implications for that, right? So it means you have to create a management structure underneath you. You have to empower those people. They have to have the authority to make real decisions. You have to accept that they're going to make decisions that are different from the ones that you're going to make. They might not even be as good, and who cares? Not every single decision has to be the one you would have made, and not every single decision has to be as good as the one you would have made. Not everything in life has to be optimized.
10 problems at 80% that you don't have to deal with is better than 100% of one problem.
One problem that's 100% fixed.
Yeah,
the way
you know what I mean?
like.
Yeah, so I get that. And I'm at that phase right now where it's kind of like I'm allowing people to make decisions, and you'd be surprised it doesn't fall apart. Like literally, the world doesn't end.
Even if it's different than what you would have done.
Yeah.
Right? Or not even, the real one is where it's not as good of a decision. Like different's fine, but not as good. So what? Not everything has to be optimized in life. And if you want to, quote, optimize every decision, there's a huge cost to you of doing that, which means now you're touching everything. And you no longer have this time that you cherish to work on your business.
Yeah.
So there's a concept, probably a new word for you, satisficing. Satisficing. It basically means you don't optimize the thing. You just simply choose the first good option. The first option that's good enough. The example I use with my students is, so usually I'm wearing like a button-down type shirt, you know, like not a dress shirt, but like a printed shirt, right? Button down. And I say, you know, like, I didn't optimize this shirt. I knew what pants I was wearing this morning. I went along the closet. I went, that works. And I grabbed the first one that's good enough, right? I satisficed the decision. I could have optimized it. I could have spent more time and gone, gee, what's the absolute best shirt out of my collection that I could wear with these particular pair of pants?
Yeah.
But you don't bother with that. You just take the first one that does the job. And most things in business, satisficing is okay. And the last point is, the real trick is knowing which ones are which. Which decisions do have to be optimized.
I think subconsciously humans do that anyway, though, because they have a priority list. And it's one of those, like, you know, I'm trying to use an example, like, you go into the grocery store and it's like, do I want cheese crackers or regular crackers? Who cares? Just grab one. Like,
right.
You're already subconsciously doing that, but where are those decisions on your priority list? We just need to learn to bring that in. And I really like that. That's a good thing for business owners to know. It's like, what's the good
Do
decision?
it consciously.
Yeah.
Right? And so because it's actually the flip of that matters more, which is which are the decisions that I can't satisfice. A great example is hiring. You optimize that decision, right? You spend the time to make sure that you get the right people.
Yeah, I've kind of geared away from that. I know it sounds horrible. Like, give me your opinion. Hire fast, fire fast. That's where I'm at.
It depends on the job. See,
I feel like my industry, again, there's so much.
Are you talking about
garbage.
the trades?
Yeah.
That
And I'm
probably
talking
works
about
okay
even-
in the trades.
And I'm talking about trades, labor, stuff like that. I'm like,
Right.
We just did a resume
But what about your
application.
sales manager?
No, that I agree with. Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, I think because
I think
I'm
it
looking
works
for
in the trades.
I'm looking for field staff right now. So like, yeah, I think I'm in that.
You're going to spend more
mindset.
time on that one, right?
I'm going to spend more time on a sales manager, project manager. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Or even anybody in leadership position because they
forward-fronting.
determine your so touching the customer for
Yeah.
sure, or a leadership position because that has a huge impact on the culture.
Yes.
That you want people that are going to basically be an extension of the culture that you want to create in your company.
When we leave the office, you can look on the board. It literally says, "Culture eats structure for breakfast." It's on my whiteboard right now. I tell
Right.
everyone that. I'm like, we build the culture and the structure will fall into place. If everyone wants to be here in a good spot, the structure will fall into place because everyone will want to follow the process.
Exactly.
Everyone will want to do the job for the next person behind them.
Do you have your values enumerated? Have you written down your corporate values?
So we got our mission statement, our core values.
Great.
It's all in a binder in there.
I'll tell you a funny story. It's not a funny story, but you might find it interesting.
Yeah.
So we were up around probably around 50 people at this point in time, and we decided to do what you've already done, just write them down. Right? We had them, but they hadn't been enumerated. We hadn't actually articulated them. So every company has values.
Yeah.
You can go observe them. And then you could write them down, right?
Yeah.
But the values can be observed just by how decisions get made. So I spent a weekend and I looked around on the internet. I'll admit, one of my favorite concepts is I never had a good idea I didn't copy from somebody else.
Yeah.
So I copied lots of ideas from other companies, but I found the ones that resonated with me, and I ran them by my two partners, and we settled in on these values.
Yeah.
And so then I said to we had a communications coordinator person, and I said, do me a favor. We had offices, 6 offices in Canada. We had, I think, 7 in South America and 6 in Mexico. So it we had quite a few offices, right?
Yeah.
And I said, do me a favor.
It's a lot of offices.
Not counting the bathrooms, how many rooms do we have in this company? Go find that out, right? So he had to go and how many offices, conference rooms, and count the lobby as a room, right? So he came back with the number. I'm like, great. Now make up a nice graphic with these values, and I want X number. I forgot the number now. 80.
One for
like
each
that.
room.
One for each room in the company. And he's like, why? And I said, because I want to be able to say to people, don't ask me, look at those.
Yeah.
Right? I want it to be really, really permeate our whole company. That the culture of our company is that we really believe those things.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways to do that is for them to always be in view. And I know some people probably think it's a little bit extreme, but extreme sometimes works,
It does, and I'm guilty for not implementing them as much. Everyone knows what they are. We've had team meetings about them, but I should post them. I should.
Yeah.
I'm guilty for it.
If you've got a small enough number, get a monk with them.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Right? But yeah, find interesting ways to, so that they're more present.
I do like that because one thing I'm trying to implement now, and I think slowly trying to do it, is finding solutions before problems. So I'm gonna have a thing where my field staff, I'm like, if you come to me with a problem, I want 2 solutions with it. If
Right.
you can't come to me with 2 solutions,
Yeah.
either A, you shouldn't be doing that job,
Yeah.
right? Or B, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
I need people with a brain. I want people that feel like they have an input.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly trying to implement that right now.
Thanks for the segue, because this book here, Most Problems Solve Themselves. So the book is not about most problems solve themselves. The book is actually 52 articles.
Oh,
I needed a title for this book. And so I picked one of the more provocative article titles to put on the front. And what most problem solve themselves is about just that. It's about
I think it's a great concept.
pushing it back on the employee. And it's like, bring me solutions instead of problems. I like that.
No, bring me a problem. But
for
give me
sure.
what solution would you do this job every day? You run into this problem. You should probably have the best solution. So
Right.
I am going to trust that. If it's
Right.
really that bad of a solution, I'll kibosh it. But you've made the effort to do that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to like pay raises and stuff, and I sit down with them, and I'm an advocate for if you're making us more money or doing more responsibility, I'll pay you more. If you're
Yeah.
doing less or the same, I'm not going to pay you more, kind of thing. And I'm like, now we can sit down in 6 months and say, hey, 1, 2, 3, we've gone through 50 problems and you've come to me with a solution and you've solved 48 of them. Yes,
Right.
I believe you should be paid more, and I'm going to give you more responsibility with that.
Yeah.
Because you've shown initiative, you've shown some. I just want to embrace people and lift people up, but I've got to create an environment where I'm giving them the opportunity they can do that. And I'm
Yes.
always closing doors on them and say, you come to work, you only do this and you only do that. Well, they can never grow as a person.
Well, yeah, you're so right. So a couple things. One, you should default to their solution.
Yeah.
Right? So, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So one is eventually, so I have a way that I express this, which is that I used to travel a fair bit.
Yeah.
So people would come, I called it the parade, when people would come to my office on the Monday after I was away for a week. Right?
Yeah.
And they'd bring me some problem. And I'd say, well, like if it was last Tuesday and I was in Winnipeg, what would you have done? Well, I would have done this. I say, okay, well, you know what I think we should do? I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Right? And so what you're doing is you're training them a bunch of things. One, you trust them, right? You have the autonomy, because I'm telling you to do what you wanted to do, right? So you have the autonomy. Over time, they'll bring less problems to you and solve more themselves.
Well, if you've been okay with it 3 times, the 4th time you're most
This
likely okay with
Brad
it.
will be fine, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you mentioned JFK. I like what he did too. Like you said, the womanizing thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we'll push that aside.
Yeah, I'll push that aside. But like, I can look at the actions, not the person, kind of thing like that. So,
Well,
why him? Like,
About-
why the hardship? I know he pushed hardship. That's more for me.
I think he was a president with a heart, and the work that he did around civil rights, and I think he moved that country along a fair bit. At least my understanding of it, right? My hero worship of him goes back a long way, like to my to when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Because interestingly, I was born in 1960. I'll give it away, right?
Secrets out. Secrets out.
Yeah. So
Beans are spilled.
my first living memory is of my mother screaming. She was at the ironing board, and I was almost 4, and she's screaming. And that was my first living memory. I just remembered it. And then when I was an adult, I asked her, like, any idea what that was? Like, did something happen, whatever? She goes, that was when I was watching TV while I was ironing, and I found out JFK had died. Like, he'd been shot.
Oh wow.
Right? And so that kind of that made me feel good about the fact that I had, worshipped him as a child. And admittedly, he was probably blown up bigger than life because he died, throughout the 60s and the 70s. But it was because of his vision, the going to the moon and all of that, thinking really big. Being a war hero as well. He wrote a great book too called Profiles in Courage, which I recommend to anybody.
Okay.
It's about 8 politicians that had the courage to do the right thing, but not the popular thing. So it's a great book. He wrote it while he was flat on his back in the hospital because he had a terrible back. He also worked through a lot of pain in his life. So but anyway, I wanted to touch on the notion that you said about we're going to do things because they're hard, right? So I have a philosophy which is that everything in life is hard, but you get to choose your hard. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay? So you go to the gym pretty well every day, or 5-6 times a week,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Is that hard?
It is hard. Yeah.
You know what else is hard? Being 55 and obese.
Yeah.
But you're choosing your hard, right? You're choosing a different hard than that one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you get to because you're choosing that hard, you putting yourself in a position where you'll always have the choice. If you didn't choose that hard, you'd be 53 and you wouldn't be able to, you can't turn it around at that point,
Yeah.
right? Another example is getting up in the morning, right? That's hard. But you know what else is hard? Living with everything that comes from not getting up in the morning,
Yeah.
right?
It's like money, right? It's hard to save money, but then it's also hard.
Hard not
be
to
poor.
have any.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's,
So you get to choose your hard, and I really suggest that in most cases, choose the hard that's today.
Yeah.
Right? A university degree is another example, like, despite what we said earlier about the value of them or not, right?
Yeah.
You know, what's hard? Getting a university degree. You know what else is hard? Not having one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no,
So-
because everything's a little more of an uphill battle. It's true.
Right.
No, I totally agree with that. I like that. I feel like there's so much I want to talk to you about. I'm trying to like flip through all this. You walking away from your company. I kind of caught this on your onboarding form. Walk away from your company, being silent about it, but not being happy about it. Kind of like Dave Keon.
Right.
When I saw his name, I'm like, hold on. Like, is that the right guy? Yeah, that was him. He left and kind of sour about it, but kept his mouth shut. He respected it. I'm like, is he hinting? And then I looked down and you had a little smiley face on there. I'm like, is he hinting on something here? Like,
No, I wasn't drawing the parallel actually between
but it
those
is
two,
kind of
but
like the same parallel,
it's interesting that you caught that. Yeah.
right? But it is kind of
So
like that, right?
you obviously know a little bit about Dave Keon.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and if no one knows, like, he was a hockey player, clean player, didn't cut corners. He pretty straight shooter kind of guy.
Oh,
Left the
salt of
organi-
the earth. Yes.
Yeah, but like left the organization, was sour with it, but didn't go public on it, but just wasn't happy. Like, there's a whole story behind it. It's a little bit more.
You have to know the history of the Leafs and the terrible owner that we had at the
Exactly,
time.
right? So there's a whole history behind it, but like, I guess the humility behind it is the same as you with leaving corporate America, right? Kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I found that kind of cool when you did that, and I'm like, is he like lining me up for something here? I'm like, he test me if I did my research and I actually read more, stuff like that.
I've also never worn any number other than 14 in playing hockey in probably 15 different teams over my lifetime.
So really,
Yeah, never wore any number other than 14.
that's a fun fact.
Yeah, except for one time when I was doing my MBA, I arranged a hockey just a one game between our MBA Western and the Toronto U of Toronto Rotman hockey. Like basically the MBA program threw together two teams, right?
Okay, yeah.
And because I organized it, they made me the captain and they gave me number 99, which I was not comfortable wearing because I did not deserve that number by any means.
I wanted 15. Speaking on that, not deserving. Okay, you're lining me up. This is just so easy. Ego demands a spotlight. Humility lets the work speak for itself. I pulled that one because you said I recently just jumped into the sector and I don't deserve to answer this question when I was asking about the noise. And I'm like, you've lived every angle of the sector. Like, you've seen so many different perspectives and angles. I'm like,
yeah,
you should have a say of.
So I was approaching that from a really specific point of view, which is that I just launched 5-6 weeks ago this new digital business, right? So this is a new area for me.
So what does the business do?
So it's called the Confident Operator.
Okay.
And it's a series of tools for more established businesses, for $5 to $15 million.
Yeah.
To help them reduce the chaos, bring a little bit more order, bring some structure into the company, and it's for companies that have probably just naturally grown into a little bit of a chaotic situation. Probably an owner that doesn't have a biz degree, right? So doesn't know some of the basic theory and tools and
never dealt with $5 million problems.
Yeah, they worked their way into those, right? So that's basically what the business is all about, and it's fully digital. I'm trying to build it so it totally scales without me having to be part of it. It's a bit of an experiment I'm running, and I don't feel like I'm in any way an expert in that domain.
I see.
Yeah, so that's
we should talk about
that's
that
where I was
because that's what
coming
we're kind of building up too. So if we can help each other out some way. I have so many resources now, like.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I do like that idea. So that's what you're talking about. Because I'm like reading this, I'm like, you don't have a right to say it. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Oh,
okay,
if we were talking
way to be
about
humble. Like,
no,
way
if
to
we
be
were talking
humble.
about cannabis, about telecom, about entrepreneurship education, whatever, I would feel quite entitled to talk about those.
No, but you know what I mean? I'm reading this and I'm like, I just read that whole resume and bio and I'm like, really? You don't have a right to talk about it. So I was talking as a whole with your experience, with everything you've gone through.
Right.
All right, so this is one thing I've been trying to dive into. I've been trying my best, honestly, but I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. I don't know if I'm just not following the steps. The whole meditation and Zen thing. I've tried it. I'm good at having my morning journal with my mission statement, writing my quote for the day. But the whole meditation thing, like, you gotta explain it to me. I just...
It's not that hard.
It is. It's so hard for me. I can't do it. I get like squirrely brain and I just can't dial into myself.
It makes squirrely brain go away. That doesn't make it go away. It certainly diminishes it though. So in Zen we practice very simple form of meditation. Essentially it's go sit and stare at a wall for 20 minutes.
I can't do that.
Sure you can. With all your discipline, of course you can.
T-Bone's with me so much of the time. Like, ask him. Imagine me staring at a wall for 20 minutes.
Not only that, you're not allowed to think.
I know,
yeah.
But it's something I
But
really
we all
want to
do, of course.
The thing is, I really want to get into it, and I don't know anyone that actually practices it daily. And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity saying, like, how? Like, how do you break that first barrier where, like, you're like, now I'm addicted?
Oh, it certainly takes some time to get good at it. And by good at it, I simply mean that you're fairly good at keeping thoughts out of, like, the idea is to try to essentially have an empty mind for 20 minutes. The way we all learn is you sit there. There's a certain way to sit. You can even do it on a chair. I mean, I don't. I sit on a mat, but you can also have a bench. There's lots of kind of ways to physically align yourself. You pick a spot on the wall. You look at it, and you just simply count your breaths and focus on your breath. So focus on the feeling of it going in your nose, down your throat, into your lungs, and all of that, and coming back out, and maybe a little bit of like how am I feeling? How am I experiencing the floor against the insteps of my feet? You know, basically you're really thinking about the physical, what's happening to you physically, and if you can stay focused on that, it pushes all other thoughts out of your mind. Now, what'll happen is typically most people will do a count to 10, right? So. You don't count on the in, you count on the out. You might get to 3 and then you realize that you're thinking about the concert that you're going to on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And then you just start over.
So that's part of the practice, is to kind of like...
You realize that you've thought the thought, you push it away, and you go back to your breath.
And so do you do it for like a mental reset, for a physical, benefit? Like, why do you do it? Like, why did you get into it?
So I got into it because a friend recommended that I try it because I was in not a great place in my life at the time. I had gone through a nasty divorce and I was a little mad at the world and I wasn't in a good, happy place. And so he gave me a book by a guy named John Kabat-Zinn called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And that's kind of how I got started. My friend is into Zen as well, so he gave me some Zen reading to do. And I just kind of started on the journey. I went on a couple of retreats where, I think I did it 3 times where you go, they're called silent retreats. You go on Friday evening, around dinner time, you stop talking. You don't talk again until Sunday dinner time. So you're
imagine me doing that.
And intense meditation. So you'll do like an hour-long session on Friday night. An hour's a long time for me. My standard amount is 20 minutes.
Oh.
So 20 minutes, I think anybody can do that. And if you can't do 20, do 10. Because you know what? 10's better than 0.
Yeah, because I'm really diving into the like Zen, Stoic thing. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, if you like Stoicism, I think you'd like a lot of the Zen principles as well.
I just try to read Thinketh of Man, and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. I'm trying, but I'm like, I don't get it. Like translating it as I go. And it's in English, FYI.
A lot of Buddhist stuff is kind of out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't even know if it's meant to be understood.
I read one the other day where it's like the most valuable part of a bowl is where there's no bowl, and I'm like,
Right.
I get it. Because the empty part is where it's most valuable, but I'm like, why? Like, why do we have to think that?
Right.
Like,
I don't actually. I stopped reading all that stuff years ago. I'm not into any of that. There's a handful of things that I've glommed onto, and you know what? I think like Buddhism is not a religion; it's more of a philosophy. But it's like a religion in the sense that, like, do you know any Catholics? You probably do, right?
Yeah.
What do they call it? Cafeteria Catholicism, right? They take this that they like, they take this that they like, they take that they like, right? And that's their form of Catholicism. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't think you have
that's
to
what I'm trying to do with
follow
Stoic
dogma.
and Buddhism, right? Is that I'm trying
Just
to like
take the pieces that
I like, but I'm
resonate.
trying to learn what I like, and that's why I'm
Right.
getting overwhelmed. I'm like, I hate reading their analogies, right?
Yeah.
But I do like some of the perspectives. I can't sit there for an hour and meditate, but
You don't have to do an hour.
no, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to like, so I'm still at that early stage, but I'm like I'm gonna get it, but I just trying to talk to people about what they're doing because I feel like everyone that does it that's got into it, it works.
You know who you should look up? You should look up Brad Warner, who's a real cool practitioner of Zen, and he wrote a book. He wrote a book called Hardcore Zen. He wrote a couple of others as well. But he's a former, like, he worked in Japan on Godzilla movies. He's a former bass player in like a punk band. He's a real cool dude.
Yeah.
And he practices Zen, and he has a YouTube channel. I would really suggest maybe start with Brad because he's pretty.
Brad Warner.
Brad Warner,
Okay.
pretty easy way to get into it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think some of the Buddhists love lists. So I think some of the lists you might like the 5 precepts. So, you know, I won't kill, essentially.
Pretty standard.
Right? I won't take that which is not given,
Yeah.
which means, you know, don't steal. Now some Buddhists take it to the extreme of like, if you don't give me a thing, I won't take it.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way, right? I won't practice false speech. I won't engage in sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
Now, sexual misconduct is because Buddhism is not like religions in the sense that a lot of it's kind of open to your own interpretation. But for me, it's just simply don't misuse sex,
Exactly.
right? And then the last one is that I won't take intoxicants. But a lot of people, so I'm now totally intoxicant free, okay?
Yeah.
But over the years, I've partaken in lots of different intoxicants, right? Even while practicing Buddhism. And a lot of people, their take on that 5th one is that I won't allow intoxicants to let me go off the path of the other 4. So in other words, there's nothing wrong with having a beer. Like my friend who got me into Buddhism, he drinks. He doesn't drink excessively by any means, but I don't drink anymore, but we go for lunch. He has a beer.
Yeah.
Or he'll have a glass of wine if I go over to his
It's
house.
more for the enjoyment than the altering effect.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've never seen this person drunk, right?
Yeah.
So and there's a few other lists that I think you'll like. So the notion of we talked about it earlier of equanimity, right?
Yeah.
So some of these concepts I think would really probably resonate with you.
That's
Probably
what
a lot more than some of the sayings and the the mantras and all that stuff.
Yeah, so that's a big thing on my list. I think that's where I'm at next phase is like, lately I've become really at peace being by myself, which,
It's good.
again, an unteachable lesson is like, once you get comfortable by yourself, it's a scary thing. It's like, there's nothing that can, like, it's like, okay, cool, like,
Right.
no problem. Like, I'm completely okay by myself, and it's actually like almost worrisome where I'm like, I can do anything by myself because like I'm that confident and comfortable where like nothing can shake me anymore. It's like it's a really weird phase, but like now that I'm good by myself, I'm like maybe this is the next step to be able to like enjoy time by myself and benefit from it, right?
And I think
like,
the payoff to you spending all this time by yourself and getting to the point where you're comfortable, what it means is you've probably, I don't know if you were already there, but you may or may not have been, you probably now, well, might not be now, you might have always, but you like yourself.
I do, yeah.
Because if you're with
I've
yourself
never
a
been more
lot and you
confident.
don't like yourself, you're going to have to work on those things.
You hit the nail on the head. I like myself so much now that I enjoy being by myself. Don't get me wrong, I love going for dinner with my wife and stuff like that, but if she's gone for the night, I have friends who have to go get wasted with their buddies and go to the bar and stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna sit on the couch and watch a movie. Or I'll go to the movies by myself. I'll go to dinner by myself. And even my wife, she's like, how do you do it by yourself? I'm like, I just go.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like,
Right. You enjoy your own
when I
company.
eat I go off and get a plate of pasta, I'm actually gonna concentrate on actually eating.
Ah.
Like, it's weird that, like, when you dial
That's
into
another
what you're-
Buddhist concept of
Yeah.
staying in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Being present. And that's one thing that meditation actually helps you with, is by being in the moment. And really, really being, I know it sounds woo-woo and everything, but this notion of being present, the best example I can think of it is that when you get mad, after a while, when you've been practicing Zen, you'll still get angry. Like, you're not perfect, right?
Yeah, you have
But-
emotion.
But you're aware that you're getting angry and you're actually choosing to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get that. And not really trying to control my emotions. That's where, even if I have a day where I get like overwhelmed, I kind of step back and what do? I'm like, you know, AJ, you got to move the needle. Let's make a list. Let's make a list. If I start talking away at stuff on that list, I'm moving the needle. Eventually, all this overstimulation is going to go away because everything that's moving the needle is going to be gone.
Right.
Like, I'm really good at kind of removing myself into like a third party perspective kind of thing. Okay, one or two more questions because I think Tarun's cameras are gonna die. Okay, we don't stop playing because we're old. We grow old because we stop playing. Why aren't you gonna retire?
Well, a bunch of reasons. I think, you know, I'm planning to live till I'm 90.
Okay.
So-
yeah, that's set. Okay.
Yeah, like that's kind of my.
Yeah.
I might make it longer. I might not quite make 90, but that's kind of that's my working plan, and it's based on a handful of things, right? My mom made it to 84. My dad made it to 90. I've lived a better life than them from the point of view of, you know, I've been better fed and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, life might get me. Like, remember,
Yeah.
luck has
Luck has
something to do with it. But that's my kind of working plan, right? So I'm in my mid 60s now. I don't want to sit around on my ass for 25 years,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying I'm never going to retire. I probably, at some point, I will totally stop working. But for me, and I think for a lot of people nowadays, because of just the way life is structured, retirement's not a cliff the way it was for my dad, right? Like for my dad, it was like work,
Stop
work,
working
work,
back.
work, work, 65 down. No, he still lived 25 more
Well, I'm
years.
saying like a lot of people.
But
like,
at 65, he went from like 100% work down to 0 work. And you know, he lasted about, I don't know how long. It wasn't long, probably not even a year. And I mentioned earlier, he's really handy, right? He went and got a job at the local hardware store, and he was in heaven.
Yeah.
And he worked 4 days a week, half days. So he's working, a total of 2 days. Because we're not meant to sit around on our butt,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I guess I could write or something, but that's not what I'm driven to do. So for me, retirement's going to be a ramp,
Yeah.
right? And I'm actually already on it. I've
And it's gonna be at
already
your pace,
started the ramp
your
down.
kind of benchmarks, your milestones.
Yeah.
Slowly degressing. I get it.
Exactly.
All right, what's one question if you're sitting across from an idol, I don't know, just someone you look up to, someone you always want to sit across from, what's one question you'd want to be asked?
I'd want to be asked.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, that's a real tough one.
Mine would be, and I've learned this over the past few episodes, I ask every guest this, would be, when is it enough? Because I find I have no cap, and I'm always looking to
Okay.
move the goalpost a little bit. It's like, I don't know that for myself. It's like,
Yeah.
when is it enough for you? And I'm like, when I crawl out of life. It's unfortunate, but I'm just wired that way. I know I
Yeah.
operate at that high capacity, and I'm like, I would love for someone to ask me that and me be able to have an answer. So even if you don't have an answer for it, what's
So
something you'd want someone to ask you?
yeah, because interestingly, for me, for that one, that's I don't care what somebody else thinks is enough, because that's personal. That's my, that's a personal thing for me. I guess maybe I might want to be asked why I did some of the stupid things I did. You know, So
I like that because a lot of people wouldn't want to go back and revisit that, right? So that's I like that.
yeah.
Okay, last one is what would you name this episode? We actually name it this.
What I name this episode.
First episode, he's like, "What do you want to name it?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just gonna start asking the guests from now on."
So do you do that for every episode?
Every episode, yeah, we ask the guests, "What would you name it?"
Oh wow.
We talked
You're
about a
putting
lot
me on
of
the spot.
we talked about a lot of stuff on this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
really, whatever.
potpourri, bouillabaisse, jambalaya.
Yeah, we need jambalaya. Yeah, so I usually give the guests a minute to social plugs, promote.
Oh sure.
We got 2 books.
So you can find me at bradpoulos.com. So BRADPOULOS.com. Links to everything are there. You can also, if you're of the mind, you can add me on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to connect. And then the other thing is, AJ mentioned earlier, I have a newsletter, and you can find that at confidentoperator.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. This was
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was actually a longer episode too. Honestly, we covered so much though, and I feel like there's so many things we aligned with, like from business to where I want to go with it to what you've already experienced. I think the listeners got the audience got so much out of you already having those experiences, teaching those unteachable lessons, telling people like you're not always going to be happy, but you make yourself happy. Like there's so many things here, and like it's a lot to unpackage. It's been a great episode. I can't wait for more conversations like this. But again, Brad, thank you for coming on, sharing everything you did. Make sure you pick up the book. Make sure you check out his newsletter. Reach out to him, like you said, on LinkedIn. I know me and him are going to be connected a little bit more. Besides that, another week on Forget the Noise podcast. So stay tuned and a lot more to come.